it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to make our own grocery bags out of old t-shirts, and I hope you'll stay tuned. My girlfriend went to one of the thrift stores in our town, and instead of giving her a regular bag, they gave her, I'm going to turn this so you can see it from the top first, and then I'm going to turn it to the bottom. They gave her this bag that's actually an old t-shirt, and if you can see at the top, it's got the handles on both sides like that, and then the bottom is like one of those knotted blankets that you make. It's very simple to do, and I thought we'd do it together so that you could come up with a fun way to reuse old t-shirts and an easy way to make your own gift bags if you decide you want to do a gift bag. Now, I have one of Rich's old Life is Good shirts. If you don't know this, Rich is an addict for Life is Good, and especially the ones that have the dogs in them. If it doesn't have a dog, he doesn't want it. But that's my Rich. That's the way he rolls. So the first thing I did on this side is I cut off a sleeve. I'm going to show it to you on this side so you don't have to wonder how I did it, or you know what part of the sleeve I cut off. I started, the hardest part of this is when you start at the bottom. If you have a t-shirt like these that are well made, that are heavy duty cotton, I just kind of hacked at it. I don't know if I'm in camera, so I'm going to get up here more so I can be. I just hacked at it enough that I could start, hold on, there we go. I wanted to make sure that I got as close to the seam as I could, but not touching the seam. So if you can see here, the seam is right there on the edge, and I'm going to turn it up like this so you can see me cut it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to follow the seam and cut. Now, on the other side, I had better luck getting closer, so I'm going to do that on this side. I'm just going to kind of force my way to the edge of the seam. You probably don't have to do this, but I thought it would look cleaner if what I was looking at was the line of the sleeve. And mine, the first one, of course, cut way easier than this one will, because it's just how it rolls when you're doing something on camera versus doing something when you're just sitting there doing something. So I'm going to have Rich speed through this for you so you don't have to watch me do it real time. Okay, so then you have both your arms cut out, and then we're going to go to our neck. I'm going to turn it that way so you can see the neck up close and in person. And I'm going to make sure that the seams, the shoulder seams, are right. Ignore the dog hair on it, because when you live here, you get dog hairs. Okay. Now, when you're going to cut the top, you want to start on, I already started this so it wouldn't be so problematic for me to do it. You want to start very close to the neck seam, but not touching the stitching. And then, once you get to that point, you're going to cut beneath the, okay, you can do this a couple different ways, but what I found was if you did it the way they did it, and I'm going to show you theirs again, theirs was very low cut, for lack of a better word. Can you see this? They really cut this. It's a deep cut. We're not going to cut it like that first. We're going to try and cut it just along the seam, and then I'll probably have to go back over it. But for now, I'm just going to cut as close as I can to the seam without cutting the seam. And another thing I wanted to tell you, I know you're thinking to yourself, gee, Sandy, use longer scissors, for gosh sakes. I can't use longer scissors because, well, I can, but it really is problematic for me to open and close them. And I learned from the project we just did where I cut all those 2-inch strips. of fabric that I'm not really good at using long scissors. That's what I learned. It was a lesson learned. I tried using that rotary cutter. That didn't work for me, but I felt better because it didn't work for Rich either. And then we both went after it with long bladed scissors, and for me, the long bladed scissors were a complete fail. For Rich, obviously he could do it, but I just struggled with them. So I'm just going to tell you that if you have trouble with your hands, you might want to consider trying these shorter scissors because they might be easier for you to use, like me. Easier for me to use. And because I'm just following the seam of the neckline, I'm not worrying about it being particularly straight right now because, as I said, we probably were going to have to cut more off. Sorry if I'm out of the camera. I'm just following the edge of that stitching, as you can see, hopefully. When you get to the edges where you have all these doubled up fabrics, it's not easy to whack through them, so I just kind of hack at it. Yeah, that's the word, hack. And that is what I took off. So right now, this is our neckline. Now it doesn't look pretty, and I need to, I want to make it so that the back and the front of my neckline are relatively the same. So I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to draw on the inside. Hopefully you can, I'll be able to see it, you'll be able to see it, somebody will be able to see it when I go to cut this out of here. Can you see that brown line? That's what we're shooting for. This time I'm going to try and go in with a better, I'm not trying to hack at it so much, because this time it matters. It's going to look bad if I don't do a good job of cutting this. Okay, I think we did okay on that. Maybe not, but we're going to go with it anyway. So now our neckline, still hacked a little bit, but I can always fix this later on. So then we're going to go to the bottom. We have our handles made. We have the top opening of our bag made. What I did on this side, I pinned it all across so that the bottom is all going to be attached. You know, the front and the back are going to lay, and they're all going to be fine with each other. What I did on this side is I went up 3 inches and I cut out just this side seam, because I don't think that'll work if it's still left in there. So we're going to just cut this little piece out. Okay, so it's going to leave you, let me lay it so you can see that. It's going to leave about this much of an opening, and that's okay because we're going to make this so that we'll be able to knot it, and you wouldn't be able to knot it if you didn't have that in place. So next thing you're going to do, you're going to put your ruler at the bottom. This time I'm going to use a black marker, even though it'll probably end up showing up, but I don't think I have a choice. I want you guys to be able to see this. So we're going to go up, we're going to mark it at 1.5 inches, and then we're going to make another mark at 3 inches going up the side. That was pretty close from where my mark is. I'm just going to put a little dot where 3 inches is. We're going to hold our fabric together. Well, you might not be able to do that. I might have to just cut it separately. Let me cut it. We'll cut one strip up to my 3-inch dot, and then we'll see. Hold on, I'm gonna have to do this with just being off screen because it's in a really weird angle. So I have both of them cut. Next thing I'm gonna do, this is the hard part because I didn't have that rotary trimmer. Let me see if I can find my rotary trimmer and see if I can do this with it. What I decided to do, because I couldn't find my rotary trimmer, I'm just going to take this is a portable, well, I think it's a disposable scalpel is what it's called. That's what we're going to use. And we're going to start near the top, near the 3-inch mark. Let me get a board so I don't end up cutting everything on my counter. You're going to take your scalpel or a rotary trimmer, or if you have a craft knife, I like to call these a demon stick, and just go down and make sure you have a slit that goes through both pieces. You got it? Then you're going to take both of them, you're going to shove them through that little hole, pull it so it's tight, and you're done with your first piece. Then we're going to go on to our next piece. You just need to make those marks so that you know where you are, where 1.5 inches is. I'm just going to mark mine all now so that we all have the plan. You don't have to mark it at the top anymore because you know you're going to go all the way up to where you cut the first one. Now, I did mine 1.5 inches wide. That's because that's the width of the shirt that I used as my template. But at this end, because I used a size large men's, this end, the very last piece is not going to be that long. It's going to be shorter than 1.5 inches. Not a huge deal. It's just like on those blankets. You can make it work. And nobody's going to see this. I mean, they're not going to be looking at the seam to see if it's straight or to see if you had a problem with your scissors like Sandy does. So just don't worry about that. Just do your cutting, and the best you can do is the best you can do. Lay them flat together. Get your X-Acto knife. Make your cut in the middle. You can make this shorter. It doesn't have to be super long. You just need to make it so that you can get the material through there. I got it. Let's see if this short of a one will work. I might have to put them in separately. Just going to put both of them through that little hole. Alright, so we've got 4 of them done. I'm going to go till I'm almost at the end, and then I'll come back because I'm sure you don't want to watch me do this. It's like watching paint dry. I've done all my knots down to this end. I have 2 more to do, and the next to the last one I haven't cut the slit yet. And then what I've been having better luck with is just sticking my scissors in and completing the slit there. So it goes through both sides like that. Go at the top a little bit more. And then I'd like to say I've gotten better at shoving them through, but I haven't. You would think by now I would be, but I'm not. Still no major gashes on my body. That's a good sign. Okay, then I've already cut the back of this seam. You can see that I cut it. You see where the seam is? So I cut it out back there. And now I have to do is cut it out on this side because you don't want that seam in there. I think it's a little bit of bulk that we don't want. So I'm just going to cut this one up to... Oh, and my 3 inches became 4 inches. Sometimes it became 3.5. Sometimes it became 4 and a little bit over 4. And all in all, you know, I didn't do a good job with making sure it was the same length. And then I'm going to cut out that piece. And it's hard to do because there's a tag built into this shirt right there. Why wouldn't there be? That's what you're saying to yourself, right? You're saying, why wouldn't you have a thing right there? I'd want it. Sure, right there. That's where I'd want it. So then, you're going to lay that piece down, and we're going to put a little cut at the top. And if I don't like the cut on the back piece, I'm just going to go through and make sure it went all the way through, and it did. Let's see if it's, I think it's big enough. Okay. Then we're going to take both pieces, if you can, and push them through the little hole. So, here's our bag. There's a thing from that other project with fabric. There's the top of it. I like that the pattern of the dog is facing the top, which is cute. And no, that's not a hole that I put into it. That's just a piece of fuzz. Looks like a hole, but it's not. I'm going to show you the bottom. You're going to laugh at when you see this. You're going to realize that it goes on an angle up this way. Don't think about it. I am not going to worry about that, because if somebody, again, is looking that closely at my bag, then they have an issue. They shouldn't be looking that closely at it. I would not put a bunch of cans in here, but I think it would hold a few bags of chips at least. It's pretty fun. I'm happy with it. I hope it gave you some ideas of something you can do with old t-shirts. And then give this a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media, because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.